Welcome to the Metaville. I'm Rosanna Catalano, an attorney and the founder of Rocket Ship Consultants. I'm excited to be your ambassador to the Metaverse today.
And I'm Jeanne Curtin. I'm also an attorney. I'm the Business Partnerships Director for Rocket Ship Consultants.
I'm Nathan Moon. I'm an attorney and the Content Director for Rocket Ship Consultants.
And I'm Joy Tootle. I'm also an attorney, and I'm the Operations Director for Rocket Ship Consultants.
Now, our show focuses on the Metaverse, so we thought we would host a show where we discuss what the Metaverse is and why it is so important. Welcome to the Metaville.
So let's go around the room and discuss the topic of what is the Metaverse?
I'll start. I have to tell you, I'm very excited about this topic, and I feel like it is 1996 all over again, where the internet was just bursting onto the scenes. For everyone that's not aware, the Metaverse is going to be the next iteration of the internet. And I foresee it as something where it is completely immersive, whereas now we sit in front of flat screens, our phones, and the internet is flat in front of us. This will be an experience where it is around us, and I can't wait.
And I think something you said there, Ro, with it being an experience. You know, I can sit and look at my computer screen all day or the TV, and it's not an experience. But the Metaverse it's just immersive, and it's free flowing, and it's changing every day. We've all talked about that. It's every single day something new is happening.
One thing that I thought of early on when we were talking about this topic is, I don't know if any of you back in, say, elementary school had these pen pal programs, and you would write to kids at schools in other countries, and it was a little way to sort of learn a little bit about a different country. So that was in the old analog days that all of us remember. But imagine that same experience in a metaverse context. You could meet that person virtually online and not just exchange little bits of information, but that person could give you a tour around, their home or their town. You could play games directly with them. I mean, it's just such a richer experience. It's really going to open up the world of communications to all of us.
And I think it's so hard to imagine what it's going to be like. It's as if we were trying to imagine how the internet has evolved if we were like back in the 90s. We had no idea what would happen with social media, like what even would that have looked like, or all the different ways that we are able to interact when originally the internet, if you all remember, was just like data, text on a single page, very, very early days. And there's no way we could even know that, yes, how we use the internet now in all facets of our life. So it's kind of mind-blowing. And I don't even think we can fully understand how much we're going to be using the metaverse into the future, but it is very exciting.
I think what comes closest to what I envision it to be, and I think what a lot of people envision it to be, is that movie Ready Player One, if you've seen it, where the young gentleman in the movie puts on his virtual reality headset and is completely immersed in this entire different world. There's money in this world. He buys things in this world. He makes friends in this world. It's very much like Second Life, which was many years ago. I don't know if people watching remember that. I do. But I think that's where we're headed. And I think a lot of people also see it as, while we have all of these different worlds right now, these different digital worlds, there's different companies making all of these digital worlds like Fortnite, that at some point there will be a seamless, universal world where all of these worlds are connected. Similar to how we do email and how we have how we visit websites now. I can seamlessly go from a work website to a personal, fun website very seamlessly using a browser like Chrome. And I think that's the experience that we're headed towards.
Well, and if you look too, with now Meta, formerly Facebook, just announced it. They're going to invest $10 billion in 1 year in this 1 year. I mean, that's amazing that they're doing it. And they're not the only company out there making these significant investments. We've had guests on the show before that we've talked with, and they're all doing the same thing, but it's going to be really fascinating to see how they do end up working with one another, or being able, as you said, how we're able to now seamlessly go from website to website and email to email, how that's going to play out.
And that's really the difficulty that a lot of these folks are going to have in creating that unified experience across places. So with something like Second Life that Ro mentioned, it was its own unique place that was really self-contained. Now, if you're going to be able to move between things, that's where people have to have standardization and integration that just currently doesn't exist. A lot of times my thoughts go to the automotive industry, and early on, you didn't have standardization between different car companies. Everybody put their gear shift where they wanted to, their light switches where they wanted to. The pedals may have been different. All of that was unique because people were just figuring this stuff out at that point. And then, where we are today, you basically can get in any car at the rental agency and you know pretty much where everything's going to be. Those standardizations were developed over time, and it allowed for a much more seamless user experience. And that's going to be, I think, where a lot of the work is happening over the next few years.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to those relationships, right? People talking, sharing information.
What?
All this life skills that we want people to have, and that I'm trying to instill in my children, to talk to people and negotiate. And I think that's what it's all going to come down to, because we see Microsoft is in this space, Roblox, I should say, is in this space, Epic Games, Minecraft. They're all in this space, and they're going to have to sit at the table and start working together so that there can be seamlessness between each of those worlds.
And what's been somewhat refreshing, at least with the guests we've had on, is there seems to be a willingness for them to cooperate with one another, because they, at least the individuals we've talked with, they get the bigger picture, that this is bigger than one company, than one person. So hopefully that is how it actually plays out.
Right. This is the creation of a whole new economy. And, when you see the possibility of that, and Jeanne's already talked about some of the investments that are going into this area, they're doing that because this is the creation of a brand new economy, and nobody wants to be left behind.
Well, on that note, do we want to take a commercial break?
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to get some more about your thoughts on the Metaverse Web3. Welcome back.
Today we're talking about why the metaverse is important. So let's start with you, Joy. Why do you see the metaverse as important going forward?
I think it's pretty clear, just based on how the internet has developed, that the metaverse is going to further develop too. There are so many different ways people can plug in. And I don't think it requires being a techie to have some kind of investment or interest in where this is going. We've already seen with NFTs how those are really being utilized by artists to be able to sell their art on the metaverse. And this is extended to musician artists as well as actual like graphic artists. But I think there's going to be a market and the economy, as you mentioned, for every single person of any kind of interest. Even I was reading some different articles, and I think this is really cool because I love sports, for the sports experience. It's like taking fantasy football to like a whole new level, because you can get that more emotional attachment, more immersive experience to the actual games that are playing. I mean, maybe someday we won't even have TV anymore. Maybe someday you will be able to purchase your virtual 50-yard line seat or courtside seat. Maybe you can upgrade to get different views. Like if you want that goal line view to see what the ref is seeing, did the ball cross the goal line? If you're sitting in the stands, you'll be able to maybe join in with other people and get seats next to somebody else, even though they're across the country. Let's say you have memories going to a ball game with your dad and he lives across the country, but you could both put on your VR headsets or whatever the technology is at the time and enjoy the game together, sitting next to each other, virtually though. And people are going to want to upgrade to the different experiences. And it's definitely a market, I think, that is yet to be tapped. And I'm sure it's going to go in that direction. So I think for whatever your interest is, you don't have to be, at this point, technologically fluent yet. But I think it's important to be interested. If you work in one of these areas, it's probably something you want to look into because you don't want to be left behind as the technology moves in this direction. If you're still selling old school sports tickets, but other sporting platforms are going into this virtual realm, maybe people don't want to attend the way that you are presenting your products anymore. But again, this applies to any different type of industry, I believe. So I just think that no matter what industry you're in or what your interests are, there's something for you.
Will the refs be able to hear me if I yell at them?
Nobody would want to be a ref anymore.
An idea to spin off of that is maybe there aren't refs. Maybe it's based on population. There's a certain group that can be involved in watching as a ref view, and maybe they vote. And
it's democratic now.
Who knows?
Oh.
Who knows? Like, who knows where this could go and what it could lead to?
Oh my!
There's going to have to be a course on offsides in soccer. My gosh. I think that, we're looking and we are on the verge of a brand new economy. You mentioned it earlier, Nathan, and I think you're absolutely right. We've been talking on our show on different episodes about cryptocurrency. This is going to be a place where all of those technologies that are new and cutting edge that we've been seeing for the last several years are going to come into play. So you're going to be able to go into this immersive environment with some sort of technology, whether it is a virtual reality headset or whether it's going to be augmented reality glasses, and you're going to be able to spend money. This is America. How they're working this. So there's going to be a place where you can spend money. There's going to be places where you can shop. I have no doubt that they are going, as we invent and create this metaverse, that it's going to appeal to consumers. So this is really exciting to me to see this, to be at the beginning of a whole new economy. That gets me very excited about this.
And we've really focused on the digital side of this, which is truly what this is at first. But I think the long term here is connecting the digital to the physical. And we're already seeing some things along those lines, just the very basics of it, such as like the Amazon Whole Foods checkout process. There's some stores where you throw things in your cart. The store, as you go through, knows what you put in there, and you just walk out. It takes it from your account on file with them. You could perhaps do the same thing digitally, and if you happen to be going by the physical store, pick your things up. So that to me is a real interesting space where we're going to tie that digital world back into the physical world, and all of these things are then seamless between both of these environments.
I was going to say too, talking about tying it back into the physical world, I think one of the really interesting aspects of this is with the virtual, the opportunities for scientists and engineers. Now, what they're doing is they're going in these virtual worlds and they're inside molecules. So the advancements that they're going to be able to make so much faster, and the impact, the positive impact on people around the world, it's just mind-boggling that that you can go in now. I read an article, there's a biotech company down in Tampa, Florida, that's doing just that. And it's just fascinating that now we have these scientists and doctors that are able to do that. And I'm sure they're even more excited. I mean, I've been in the virtual world, but not that part of it. And it's really exciting. And I hope people understand what an opportunity this is really for all of us.
The potential collaboration is incredible. I read an article as well where doctors are collaborating before a surgery. So you may have a doctor in South Africa speaking to a doctor in Australia, speaking to a doctor in the United States that has the patient's heart in 3 dimensions in front of them, and they can spin and discuss this patient's heart all before the surgery. That to me just blows my mind. And I think that's incredible what we can do with that.
Well, and people are figuring out how to collaborate amongst non-traditional stakeholders. There's an instance of, I don't want to get into the science of it because I frankly don't know it as well myself, but dealing with a protein, the shape of a certain protein, right? And you needed to know that to create a medicine for it, essentially, whatever this illness was. I don't recall if it was diabetes, something like that, but the medical community opened their information up to the gamer community, right? Because gamers spend a lot of times figuring something out. And there was something about the shape of this protein that the scientific community was not able to figure out. And opening it up to thousands of gamers who are just always working puzzles, right? Trying to figure things out. That community gave them the tools that they needed to find that shape to create the medicine for it. So those sorts of things, you would never meet those people in the traditional work groups, right? But in this type of environment, you can open up these problems to non-traditional groups that may have insights that are not part of your wheelhouse. So I just think it's fascinating.
So with the 4 of us being attorneys, and attorneys sometimes having the reputation of saying no or raining on a parade, right? I think a lot of people don't like to bring in general counsels to a company meeting because the general counsel is like, no, you can't do that. That's illegal or it's inappropriate or unethical. What ethical issues do you all see? I know we've discussed it without being recorded, but I do think this does open the door, myself included, to a lot of ethical issues, especially in intellectual property. How's that going to work?
My biggest concern is the deepening divide between the haves and the have-nots. I mean, we've talked about that. There literally are people on the planet who don't have enough food to eat, but now we're going to have other people in this alternate universe which requires hardware, software, computers. So making sure we don't end up in this, half the population on the planet is in the metaverse and the other half is still in the physical, and it's just really 2 different societies.
I think the other side to that coin, though, would be that if you can get the access to the tools to enter the metaverse, it's going to give certain people opportunities that they never would have had before if they aren't in the United States or in a big city or whatever other markets that they could normally market whatever their product is or their talents are. They may not have the stage for it before, but now maybe the metaverse is going to give them the stage no matter where they are. So yes, there are still going to be people who can't get access to the technology, but it may widen the opportunities for certain people. If they can at least get into that door, then they've got more opportunities from there.
That's a good point.
There's also, I've read a number of articles that talk about the power that's required to run the metaverse. A lot of the technologies are based on blockchain. And I know, Joy, you've been doing a lot of research on the blockchain, and you and Jeanne are going to record an episode on blockchain. But there is a significant amount of power that's going to be needed to power all of this. So that also is, I think, a concern or something that is going to be raised, and people are going to have to discuss and sort of face that issue. So there's a lot of things that still need to be worked out, but I am beyond excited about this.
There are some other ethical things I think to think about if we aren't fully ourselves in the metaverse, because you can be a different version of yourself when you're in the metaverse. You can create a different persona. You can wear different clothes in the metaverse. You can have a different name in the metaverse. You can drive a different car in the metaverse. And so I think that opens up the door for toxic behaviors. I think there could be bullying that goes on. I think any behavior that happens in the real world can certainly happen in the metaverse as well. And then not knowing who's who the real people are that you're interacting with in the metaverse. I think that already happens sometimes in the internet, but I think that's just going to be exponentially more. We're going to see it more exponentially in the metaverse. And then even I have children, so I always think about the impact on kids, but they already have, there's could potentially be self-esteem issues. If you are a better version of yourself, or what you think is a better version of yourself on the metaverse, are you not going to be as confident or have a poor self-esteem in the real world because you can't have or be all the things that you are in your metaverse world?
Yeah, really interesting. So the bounds between reality and unreality become a little bit blurred. And this is something that I was thinking about when I was working with the court system. We were working on not appearance by video, basically, or non in-person appearances for court cases. And I thought, well, we've got things like Snapchat filters, right? And so if you're appearing for court, say for, I don't know, a drunk driving charge, and maybe you're still a little hungover, you could put a Snapchat filter on yourself or have something made that makes you look like you're totally, fine. You're awake. You're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, no bloodshot eyes. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. All of those little things that you could sort of fudge in that world, and suddenly you're presenting something false to the court and whatnot. But, that's things that we've seen with the technology that we all have on our phones right now. So I think if we're doing things much more immersively in the metaverse, that could just go to a whole new level.
I want you to know, if you meet me in the metaverse, I'm going to be taller.
I'm going to be thinner.
Oh.
This is just taking blind dating to a whole new level.
Well, I think that wraps up our show, don't you?
I do. Thank you all for coming together today and collaborating today on this panel. Our show discusses all topics related to the metaverse. To suggest a guest or become a sponsor, please reach out to us. Our emails will appear at the end of the show. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our show. And of course, share it on all your social media channels. Signing off from the Metaville, I'm Joy.
And I'm Rosanna Catalano.
I'm Nathan Moon.
And I'm Jeanne Curtin. Join us again on the Metaville to be ready for what's next in the metaverse. And remember, we're your ambassadors to the metaverse.